What it do, homies? Today we are checking out the entire history of broken guns in every Call of Duty by Tdawgsmitty. Let's take a trip down memory lane and let's shut up and turn it up.
The OP shotguns of MW2 to the less memorable pre-patch SMGs that dominated the first few weeks of each Black Ops game, there's a reason that every single update comes with an essay's worth of nerfs and buffs. I mean, Call of Duty's over 20 years old after all, and with decades worth of weapons, chances are that some of them are going to naturally reign supreme.
I mean, that's kind of crazy that you said that. That is over 20 years old. It's like I knew that, but you just aged me, bro. Ouch.
Oh my God! Today, we're going to go over the complete history of the most overpowered, meta-defining, and just downright broken guns in every Call of Duty. Hey, quick interruption. If you like Call of Duty and you like podcasts, I started my own called Going Dark. The links are going to be down in the description. Go follow and subscribe. Back to the video. We're going to start off with the godfather of modern COD, Call of Duty 4, where you probably already...
Call of Duty 4 is not the first Modern Warfare game that I played. My introduction was actually Modern Warfare 2. That's where I started. And then I played all the way up to the first iteration of Warzone, like back when it wasn't what it was today. And I saw that it was taking like 360 gigabytes of storage on my PC. And then I uninstalled it and I never played it again. I know it sounds silly, but that big of a size for a game that I casually play, nah. So this era right here, I ain't know about. So we're about to learn. Well, I'm about to learn.
Already know the classic M16 was an absolute powerhouse.
UAV recon standing by. Our UAV is online.
If you were dominating back in the day, this thing was in your hands. And likewise, if you weren't dominating back in the day, that's because this is what you were up against. I mean, the thing killed at one burst at a time, where a lot of us were still trying to figure out how to connect our Xboxes to Xbox Live. Combine this thing with stopping power, and there was just no competing with it. Zero recoil, high damage, and nowhere to hide. For World at War, we're gonna have to go with the MP40.
Didn't that thing have a huge magazine as well?
It's hard to even mention World at War without bringing up the infamous Juggernaut and MP40 combination that has plagued these lobbies for years. The MP40 was clearly the go-to SMG, but even then, it wasn't the most overpowered when going up against an AR. The difference was, when running Juggernaut, you could tank a few more hits before dying, so that would give you enough time during the gunfight to get another few shots out with the MP40's faster fire rate and win a fight you had no business surviving. If this game was before your time, just Google MP40 and Juggernaut, and you'll be slapped with hundreds of forum posts from 15 years ago complaining about the combo. But also, others would give in to their intrusive thoughts and suggest one of the worst classes I can even imagine. MP40, Juggernaut, Bouncing Betty, and Marty
like a camping
now
class.
That's just not right. The original Modern Warfare 2 has gone down in history as one of the most...
Here we go. Here we go. See, I know the other games are legendary in their own rights, but this right here is where boys became men, right? You was all right, man, if you survived that chat lobby. Now, I'm talking my stuff too. It's kind of hard. Somebody say something stupid. How old was I when this came out? I don't know. I think I was a teenager. Boy, bro, friendships was lost. Come on now. Talk to me.
Broken and unbalanced multiplayer games ever. There were zero recoil ARs, constantly replenishing noob tubes, a completely broken melee system. But for this list, I want to specifically highlight the Model 1887.
Akimbo shotguns.
These things were monsters and wildly unrealistic. At launch, there was also a bug in the game that gave them literally infinite range. They were shotguns that you could dual wield and snipe with. It was so bad that this is one of the first times ever that COD had to release a balancing update.
I'm sorry, bro, but it's like I knew what he was gonna say. Sniping with a shotgun is crazy. Oh man.
To address the issue. Now they were still pretty OP even after the change, but in a sea of overpowered nonsense, at least it felt at home. Now on to Black Ops 1. You might immediately be thinking about the FAMAS, which was pretty much everyone's go-to assault rifle. But even worse than that, in my opinion, was the AK-74U.
Got 30 round, rapid fire, almost zero
Now,
recoil.
it absolutely shredded on its own. But then, if you added rapid fire to that thing, it just took it to a whole nother level. Try naming even another SMG that would compete with this Titan. And unlike MW2, BO1 never went back and rebalanced things. So if you somehow were able to find a lobby on this old girl today, chances are lobbies are going to be haunted by AK-74U sweats.
It hacks.
In Modern Warfare 3, the original one, we're going to go with the ACR. Honestly, looking back on this game, there wasn't too much blatantly overpowered in terms of weapons, which is nothing short of amazing considering how MW2 ended up. But the ACR was clearly the favorite assault rifle that year. With its lack of recoil and pretty decent damage, the gun was by all accounts a laser. You see an enemy, you click on them, they die. That's all there was to it. Then there's the good old Black Ops 2. You might think something like the MSMC would take the spot as BO2's most broken weapon.
Outside of Modern Warfare 3, Modern Warfare 2 and 3, I think Black Ops 2 is where I spent. Yeah, because this game came out when I was in college, right? So I had made new friends, had a lot more people to play with outside of me being at home. You know, all I had was like local. Yeah, I probably spent the most of my time playing Black Ops 2 out of any other game. And I might just like it better than 2. I don't know. Yeah, let me know which one's your favorite.
But if so, you clearly weren't around on launch, because for the first few weeks, the PDW was just insane. With a default 50-round mag and a pretty fast reload, that meant you didn't have to waste your time with magazine attachments at all and could slap rapid fire on that bad boy just to melt people. It was all fun and games until Vaughn went in and rebalanced a slew of weapons just in time for the Christmas noobs to flood the servers, and the PDW was thrown more into the middle of the pack with lower damage and higher recoil to compensate. COD Ghost had a similar story with the MSBS.
Never played this one.
SATCOM ready.
On launch, the MSBS would kill in sometimes as little as 2 shots. That would mean you could kill in one burst even if you missed with one of its 3 bullets. Now, to be fair, Ghost already had one of the fastest time to kills of any COD to this day. But still, this thing just wreaked havoc. It didn't last long though, with Drifter and other COD YouTubers of the time making videos explaining how broken it truly was. This resulted in an update to rein it in. And now we're getting into the jetpack CODs. Advanced Warfare's most...
So Advanced Warfare, right? Now, this is a game that I did consider buying it because I like mech. I like high tech stuff like Gundam and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that's this. It's just that I seen some gameplay and it just looked absolutely wild. And I think at one point I bought it and then I got attacked by some dogs and a laser gun. I didn't even know what the heck was going on. I played a little bit of it. The jetpacks was fun.
Most OP weapon was the BAL 27's Obsidian Steed.
Yeah, very little of this I think I played.
As the first game featuring weapon blueprints, AW definitely had some balancing issues to work out, and accidentally made some wildly broken ones, including the ASM-1 Speakeasy and the marginally more OP BAL 27 Obsidian Steed. Buffed the gun's damage immensely with very few drawbacks, like the rate of fire slowing down a hair, but only for the first 4 bullets. And conversely, the Speakeasy lowered its weapon's damage, but increased the rate of fire dramatically. 2 sides of the same OP coin. What's extra bad about these is not everyone had access to it, because it was only available in supply drops. So the only ones dominating lobbies were those lucky enough to roll it. Black Ops 3 had an absolutely busted weapon off the rip with...
Would you technically call that pay to win then? I mean, at the end of the day, right? If everybody's using an overpowered gun, then the gun is now, I would say it's not necessarily overpowered anymore because everybody's kind of getting the same opportunities. But in that case, right? technically it's not necessarily behind a paywall. I don't think. You can still grind, kind of like a gacha game. You can still grind to get the gun. But if you was a whale and you had an infinite amount of money, chances are you was going to pull it. I don't know what the pull rates were, and therefore have an overwhelming advantage. I think that's the way, when it comes to balancing, especially when it comes to attachments and stuff like that. I don't know if I could do that type of job. Be a person that balances, especially when you got so many guns, so many attachments, like in the most recent Modern Warfare, how to balance all of that out. People way smarter than me.
With the Vesper.
How fast that thing is firing.
It had it all. High rate of fire and solid mobility, letting you get the jump on enemies before they even realized you came around the corner, and next to no recoil. So even though its damage would fall off at range, just the sheer number of bullets you were quickly able to pelt your enemies with meant it could compete with ARs and sometimes even snipers. It completely destroyed lobbies before it had its recoil increased, and honestly it turned into a bit of a pea shooter. Let's give a quick honorable mention though to the Brecci, which unlike the Vesper, wasn't hit with a sweeping nerf and still dominates in the game right now. And now for Infinite Warfare with the OSA.
You know what? I guess I played more of these than I thought, because I remember Infinite Warfare too. Which one had the dogs in it, though?
There's not too many more ways of saying it. The gun was the fastest killing AR in the game, and it didn't have too many drawbacks, if any. The OSA was one of a handful of classic weapons brought from COD's past, with it based off the Ghost ARX, and seemingly it borrowed that game's insane TTK, with it dealing a bit too much damage for its already high fire rate. The OSA could be found in almost every lobby. If you need more proof, it was even banned from competitive that year simply because no one wanted to use anything else. Accompanying IW that year was Modern Warfare Remastered. And let's be honest, we all played this game instead, right? Now, Raven Software, who were responsible for this game's development, actually added a ton of new weapons to the sandbox throughout the year. But still, the trophy for most broken gun in the remaster also has to go to the M16.
UAV recon standing by.
Which actually somehow got better in the remaster because everyone's connection also got better, meaning a 3-shot kill sometimes even turned into 2. Next, Call of Duty brought us back to World War II and appropriately named the game COD World War II. This game was best known at launch for an outrageous amount of Dragon's Breath shotgun spam.
I'm gonna tell you something. I don't know if I knew that Dragon's Breath was a thing. Possibly I did from Call of Duty, but I seen it in the John Wick 4 movie when they had that whole entire scene was tight when they were doing that top down and he had that shotgun with the Dragon's Breath. It's one of the coldest action scenes that I've ever seen. And then I saw there's another YouTuber. His name is Kentucky Ballistics. The guy's name is Scott. I seen him shoot some Dragon's Breath. I would like to shoot one of those. I just want to feel the destructive force because visually it looks amazing.
Before the Divisions update set things straight, the game would give everyone with the Expeditionary Division a free fire shotgun if they chose to use it. And they definitely chose it. A lot. And while the fire didn't actually add as much to the gun's damage as you might think, just the visual clutter it create was enough to send controllers through some TV screens. Black Ops 4 had some of the worst monetization practices in Call of Duty. And unfortunately, the most broken weapon in the game was locked behind its monetization model in weapon reserves. The Stingray, which thankfully you can now purchase with a weapon bribe, was almost inaccessible to most of the player base during the game's life cycle, which means that unless you were grinding this game day and night and also were willing to shell out a bit of cash on it, you probably...
honestly, to tell you the truth, the only people who's probably getting these games are people who are K through 12, right? Because while you may have some responsibilities, you don't have that many responsibilities as like a full, working adult. You may, but for the most part in general, most likely you're not. You need to focus on your studies, focus on school and everything you're studying. And people who do this for a living or like play games, like YouTubers, if you will, reviewers, if you will, would have the time to sit there and grind something like that out. Or you can just simply buy it.
to most of the player base during the game's life cycle, which means that unless you were grinding this game day and night and also were willing to shell out a bit of cash on it, you probably didn't even have a chance to compete. The Stingray is a 2-round burst projectile weapon, which means you need to lead your shots a little bit, a mechanic that the devs figured would be enough of a drawback to make the rest of its stats OP. That means that if you played with the weapon enough to master the projectile timing, or just had a bad connection, so
I'm sorry, but when you have literal people with aimbots built into their hands, like Shroud or Marley, right, who mostly just plays, I think he mostly just plays Rainbow Six, then lining up your shots is nothing, especially if you're playing with a mouse. Come on now. And then you have people like, what's that other streamer, Aiden? Come on, man, he plays with a controller, laser aim.
You're used to leading every shot, nobody would even stand a chance. In 2019, COD rebooted the Modern Warfare franchise. And this is where we started to see a lot of the core of what makes modern Call of Duty, like the gunsmith, seasonal DLC weapons, and constant balancing updates. But hidden in all that, Infinity Ward dropped what might be the most OP gun of this era, the AS Val. Coming with an integrated suppressor, this thing could shoot through walls. And because it was part of the final major update of the game, that meant that devs really didn't care much to rebalance it after the fact, because the community was about to move on. And the community did move on to Black Ops Cold War, where the Tech 9 would just dominate.
Shout out Tech 9, KCK, the other Tech 9.
This will shock you, but the Tech 9 was actually a DLC gun. I know, right? Can you believe it? COD putting the best guns into DLC to make you grind or pay for it? No way. That doesn't sound like them. Despite being an SMG that leaned closer to machine pistol than most, the Tech 9 would constantly 3-shot people across the map.
Look at that mobility.
All with almost no recoil either. And it serves as another weapon that released too late, and the devs just never got a chance to go back and fix it. For Vanguard, I've got to go with the Automaton. First seen in COD World War II, the Automaton thankfully was a default weapon on launch, which means you didn't need to get lucky with a supply drop or get it in a battle pass like years prior. Not only was the Automaton great in pubs, but it was so good, the pros were using it all over the competitive scene.
Hip fire.
Shout out Boston Breach. We're also going to do a quick honorable mention to Warzone 1 as a whole. With 3 entire years of changing metas, it's tough, but I think the DMR has to take the spot. I mean, what else can I even say? I think this gameplay is speaking for itself.
Oh my God.
All the same classics of the previous weapons on the list: low recoil, tons of ammo, and the ability to 3-tap people from hundreds of meters away. But now, in Warzone, where each death means so much more than regular old multiplayer, this led to some of the most frustrating lobbies in the game's tenure. This was also during the peak of Warzone cheaters. And let me tell you, the DMR plus hackers, not a very fun experience at all. Next, we're coming up on Modern Warfare 22. And this, we're gonna go with the Vaznev. Are we sure there's even other SMGs in the game? Because I can't remember them. And with MW2's gunsmith and weapon tuning letting you change every little thing about the gun, there's no shortage of weapon builds and meta videos out there showing you every single...
And another thing, I think the weaponsmith and the gun building is definitely what's kind of reinvigorating people's interest, to be able to customize a weapon how they want, especially those with innate kind of gun knowledge. While that may not translate into the game, you at least kind of know what you're talking about in order to kind of craft a good gun. But I feel like it might reach like basic levels of Gran Turismo as far as like customization. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be surprised if they started adding some RPG elements in there, where as you're starting to build your gun, you have to go gather the materials by slaying a certain couple of people, or maybe you have to find a medal on the other side of the map and get 3 kills in order to get it. I wouldn't be surprised.
Single sweat, exactly the knobs to turn to make this thing as OP as possible. But wait, A high rate of fire submachine gun on the AK platform? Sounds familiar. And lastly, for now, Modern Warfare 3. Now, this game is still only in its 3rd season at the time of making this video, so there may be something to come out later to blow this thing out of the water.
That's 4 months
but
ago.
right now, the thing plaguing MW3 lobbies, of course, is the longbow. Did you know that this thing is supposed to be a sniper? Because you can take this thing on shipment and still drop 50 kills with it, no problem. I mean, this thing comes with a 40-round magazine. Did they really expect us to not run around with it? Now, it did recently get nerfed a bit, but as with a lot of guns on this list, it just went unchecked for far, far too long. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like it. It really helps me out. Subscribe if you're new, and also comment down below. What's the most overpowered weapon in Call of Duty history? What's your favorite one? Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.
Probably have to be the rocket launcher. No, I was kidding. But yeah, let me know which one of you Call of Duty, and answer this question. But let me know what your favorite Call of Duty was. Right, mine will have to be 2 because that's where I started at. And a tie between Modern Warfare 2 and Black Ops 2. Right, that would be my favorite. But the original link is in the description. Be sure to go to the original video, leave a like, subscribe. Dave's out.